Good morning, everyone. Welcome as you begin to come on in. I'm Nick Paro with my good friend and colleague at Banner and Backbone. And this is Banner and Backbone Vet Talk. We're going to be pulling on our friend Coach Cap or Jacob here as well. He's another Army vet with me. Melissa is our resident Navy vet. And we just listened to the ramblings of a madman and the loyalty oath of an idiot. Um, and I wanted to get Melissa's take on what she heard and offer my thoughts and take two and get Jake's take when he comes in. Because holy shit, what a morning. So
Let's start with,
Melissa,
does
good morning.
anybody think that coffee was in that coffee cup? Anybody? Anybody think
I
he took a slurp of coffee before
I
that?
said, Pete, I put out a Pete note last night that I said Trump is preempting Pete. This may be the first time we see Pete not drunk, but he'd wish he'd be by the end of it.
Yeah.
And I still think that's true. Like, what what a fucking what a waste of a speech. What a waste of money. What a waste of energy and time and
Not to
gathering all
mention
these generals.
just the OPSEC risk of having those people in the same space for a speech.
Yeah. Yeah, it was basically like what I, as a prior intelligence um, enlisted soldier, as a someone who learned how to do intelligence gathering, you want events like that. Like there is a reason we don't fly CEOs and their partners in the same planes. There's a reason why the military doesn't fly generals and their assistants always on the same aircraft. There's a reason we don't gather all these people into one place is because it makes it super easy to grab a bunch of data. And if you
Right.
don't think they were, well, I've got a boat to sell you in Arizona in the desert, and you can go fucking fish there and fish for the cacti there because you're not going to catch anything. Um, but yeah, I think that's a good starting place. Is this was it was dumb. It was spectacle. It was a lot of word salad, but it was also really dangerous.
And I have to wonder if this was just the opening ceremony for today, so to speak, and if there's going to be more that goes that happens behind the scenes throughout the rest of the day and perhaps the rest of the week while they do have these people. Um, Reuters quoted Trump as saying this morning he will fire U.S. military leader. What's the exact quote? I'm going to be meeting with generals and admirals and with leaders. And if I don't like somebody, I'm going to fire them right on the spot.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds like Night of the Long Knives. That's
Right.
exactly what Hitler did in the Weimar Republic. The only difference was Hitler was popular. Trump is
Yeah.
not. Trump thinks he's popular. They think they're popular because their
Well,
base is really loud, but
here's
they're
what
not.
concerned me. I'm
Yeah.
fresh off listening to Pete. So I just listened to it in the car. And Pete is a much better orator than almost
Yes.
anyone else in the cartoon cabinet. He was a good orator. He got up there with a long memorized speech. He was professional. He was crisp. And my concern with that is the optics. If you are not a veteran, if you don't know a lot about military, if you don't know a lot about the role of our military, the role of our military leaders, and the role of the Secretary of the Department of Defense, because I'm not going to call it by their new name, you may listen to that speech and think, well, this sounds like it makes sense.
Hmm.
A lot of this sounds pretty normal. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have fat people in the military. Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we do want all of our yeah, somebody mentioned, where's that? Elizabeth said he sounded like a televangelist. He was very polished, and I did take count. He mentioned there were allusions or mention of abject Christianity 5 times. That
Hmm.
the SecDef mentioned or alluded to Christianity 5 times. during a
And
speech,
and in
which is
fact, he mentioned it before service to the country. He did mention religion first when he said your
right,
obligations are religion, yada, 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 yada. Then he finally mentioned the Constitution. It was like third or fourth on his list. It's first in all of the oaths is support and defend the Constitution, not God, not anything else. You sign that contract, you are saying that you will give your life before God, before your anything else to serve and defend the Constitution. That's what that oath really means is you're willing to
right,
sacrifice yourself above any other reason, including for your God, especially for your God, because your God tends to make you say, I don't want to sacrifice myself for these people. Well, the
right.
military demands you do it and your oath says to. So, no, yeah, I heard that a lot too, and that was part of one of my things. I kept copious notes as I went during Pete's by live noting. So most of you, a lot of you probably saw me sending out a bunch of notes this morning. Um, is it's a loyalty test? He said it. He demanded
Yeah.
loyalty, and he
Not
rised it.
only that, it was an all out assault on women in the
Oh
military, an
yes, and
all
trans
out
folks
assault. Yeah. The trans we expected. I didn't expect him to go so hard
on
on
women.
on the
Yeah.
women front. And something I have to mention is that he promised today that all standards, um, both fitness
Hmm.
and measurements, will defend go back to male. And you tell me how any woman, no matter in the best shape of her life, is going to meet the hip measurements of a man.
Also, the measurements, and so everybody in, oh, awesome. Cap is here. Perfect. I'm gonna invite you to join, Jake. Come on in as you do. Dudes in dresses is fucking disgusting when he said that. Like
Disgusting.
bigotry at its worst, misogyny at its worst. They're not dudes in dresses, they're women. Trans women are women, like end of
Right.
story, period. Trans men are men. End of story,
Right.
period.
So that's what
And
the
yeah,
whole thing was, dog whistle after dog whistle after buzzword. It was, as someone just said in the he was a Fox News commentary. This was to a Fox News audience. This was a Fox News branded TM speech. It was
yeah,
all their buzzwords, all their platforms packaged up, in a nice, neat package. That's what it looked like.
yeah. Hey, good morning, Jake. Welcome. Melissa, I don't know
Good
if you've
morning.
met Jacob yet.
I don't think so. Hi, Jake.
I have
So,
not had the pleasure of being on a live with Melissa yet, but I follow Melissa on here because pretty much anybody that you or Lawrence or Fred follow, then I absolutely go and follow. That's how I know Dana now. So
good.
Awesome.
I mean, you take your shirt off and people find you. So Jacob's
exactly what you're talking
he's
about.
the thirst trap for freedom. And he will at the end
the
of
pecs
our
of the pecs of patriotism. Continue.
the traps of anti-tyranny.
We can
As
keep
he
going.
as he always takes his shirt off at the end of our Knights of the Rainbow Table episodes with Lawrence and I, to thirst trap people. And that's where the conversation always ends. Um, but Jake and I were together in the army. We served together, same unit. We didn't train together originally, but we met each other at our unit, and so we've known each other for a long time. Um, and I'm glad you two finally get to meet.
Yes.
Because Jake is someone that I've leaned on recently too, um, for emotional support and reached out to him and actually asked him to come out and put himself out here with us and come on a live. Um, and I'm really glad he has because his
It's
opinions
all. It's
are
almost like
needed.
he knows that I know how to rant about speeches and rants and rambles that have to do with the freedoms of each individual member of this country and the country itself. I've been doing that since long before it was cool. I'm joking. So, but yes, the
So
number of talks Nick and I have had over the years about this, and I don't mean to interrupt because I apparently came in on a conversation about transgenderism.
more
Really,
height and weight and standards. That is about how Pete
Right.
Hegseth is punishing anyone who's not a white male, was pretty much what he
Yes.
said without having to say it, because he said, if you would have to think about if the sec def son would like to be in that. No, you fucking don't.
Yeah.
well, and
No, asshole.
here's my thing about that, and I'll make it short. But my biggest rant about that, anytime that I'm just going to say it, some middle-aged or older white male with Nazi tattoos on his chest gets up and thumps his chest about how, it's because of height and weight standards and the ability to pass a combat fitness test and all that. I'm sorry, but I'm not. We all know that maybe not half of cadre, maybe less than half of cadre, but we all knew that a not insignificant portion of our leadership ended up intentionally seeking some type of desk job or something else. And I'm not making fun of desk jobs because there's one infantry and 99 other jobs. But we all know that there was a not insignificant amount of sergeants and officers while we were in that could not pass the PT test themselves, could not pass the height and weight and tape test themselves, and who often found ways to skirt it, get out of it, be on permanent med call, everything. And to each their own, there's a place for that. There's a place to have people who are going to sit back and do logistics. But every last one of us said when we went through basic training and every other follow-up training and every unit after that, that every service member should still be able to pick up that gun and run if they needed to be able to point, shoot, aim, to run, to help others. And if you can't pass those physical standards, and we've seen some of the workout videos with him and RFK, let's be honest. If you can't pass those physical standards, then you pretending that transgenderism in the military is about physical ability is bullshit, and I'm calling your bluff, Hegseth.
And I've
Not
That's it.
just
met
that, his career is a great example that even if when he was active duty, you could pass the physical and you could pass the tape, they still didn't give you control of your platoon. Why was that, Petey?
Yeah, thank you.
If
Thank
yeah.
you.
if
I
it's
can think of
all about physical fitness, if it's all about your ability to be a manly warrior, why didn't they put you in charge?
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. That's what they're going. You're pretending you're some Adonis or some, stoic Spartan example of, well, I'm going to hold everybody to the standard. I'm going to hold everybody to the line. Okay, then why are you in the same unit as me, relegated to a position that they needed to fill, and they put the person who was the least effectiveness over there? So. That we need all types in. We need people to satisfy different roles, but usually, more often than not the military didn't get everything correctly, but usually those less important roles were very appropriately filled with the sergeants who had made it known, and officers who had made it known time and time again that they couldn't pass the standards themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you
Pete
want to
is a
tell
substandard person trying to pretend to be overstandard. Like
He
he
also
was,
He also promised that everybody sitting in that room, everybody to the very tip top echelon of the military, is going to be forced now to do daily PT and take PT test every 6 months. Who do you think that we're going to lose? How many generals and admirals with 30, 35 years of experience of combat
as we're
experience are
heading
we
into
gonna
a global
lose
war.
because he wants to play a vanity thing?
Yeah,
you know
as we're heading into a possible global war. Russia
Right.
is testing NATO daily. Like they are flying drones into NATO now almost daily. They are upping the ante on Ukraine daily. There are plans from China to invade Taiwan. We're not going to stop them if they do that. The US would
so
not stop them if they did that. We have pulled all of our Navy or so much of our Navy around Venezuela and the middle and the southern end of North America. If that doesn't tell you really what they want, I don't know what does, because the only way up from there is through other countries to get back to the US.
Yes.
And they
There's
and Pete told us today, The only thing he cares about is preparing for war.
Right.
Prepare, train like you're going to war. We're going to train all the time like we're in war. And we will jump ahead just for a second. Later in our conversation, or later in the speeches, Donald Trump said these exact words, and I will pull it back up because it has to be said. Use some of those dangerous cities as training grounds for our military.
Yeah.
What that means in plain speak, even more plainly than what he just said, was use our military to train in the streets, is go train war efforts in the streets of America and train like you're at war with the American people. That's what he wants. That's what he said. I'm
Yep.
not gonna let's not sugarcoat it and pretend any longer that this is not what they want. The left needs to wake the fuck up. The middle needs to wake the fuck up. The conservatives who are left who actually want to conserve our Constitution, wake the fuck up. This was a call for treason. This was a call to reinstate the Confederate States of America as a ruling body over the United States of America. No, not martial law. He is going to incite the Insurrection Act at some point. He called us insurrectionists today. Donald Trump uses specific language repeatedly for a reason. We've all heard him talk for the last 10 years. We all can pick up on what he says. You have to actually listen to him, though. He
Yeah, he
wants,
said radical left lunatics in his speech about 7 to 8 times. I was trying to,
yep,
sometimes he was so garbled I couldn't clearly
domestic
understand what he was saying.
terrorists, the enemy from
Mm.
within,
Yeah,
insurrectionists. He said insurrectionist. The
But we're not
president.
allowed. But we're not allowed to call them authoritarians back because that's
Yeah.
insightful language that
right.
calls people to violence. But you can call people the radical left extremists and terrorists, and
Mhm.
label everybody Antifa. Which again, yes, we are Antifa because we are anti fucking fascism. So
Yeah.
were my grandfathers, and so were your grandfathers. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And like you, Melissa, you reposted that picture last night or this morning that about the Antifa card where it just says written out in handwriting
But yeah, I got mine
anti-fascist
in
member.
2003 at Fort Jackson in Columbia.
Yeah, and I was like, and I got mine in 2013 with a deployment to Afghanistan and lifelong knee problems. Like I my anti-fascist card came with an M6 with an M4 and a scope. Like
Yeah.
I learned how to use a weapon to kill people with them. That's what they're for. I didn't kill anybody. I never shot anybody. I'm thankful for that. But I was trained how to. And if you don't think these soldiers are scared and asking themselves what to do right now, because I bet you
Right.
they all heard, because that email went out saying these are all the new standards and all that stuff right away. Pete
These
said
10
it.
directives. I
These
can't wait to see
directives.
the 10 directives.
I can't wait to see what the new oath of enlistment and oath of commissioned officers are, because they're going to change them. And in fact, I'm going to take pictures, screenshots of what the oath of enlistment is right now, today,
Right.
because they're probably going to change it.
Yeah, we have it on the
And
wall of our house, so it's framed with my enlistment oath for the Navy and the Sailor's Creed. So I
yep,
got it.
yeah,
They try
like
to change it.
yeah, like it's incumbent on us right now too to have snapshots and evidence of what the oaths were now, what the Constitution is right now, the language in the Constitution, because they're going to try and change it. Like we know they are. They told us. The problem, and here's the problem with what Tyler you just said, is vote. Is there's nothing to vote on right now. We can't vote right now. What we can do is get people out there and loud and be in protests peacefully and patriotically. And now is the time when you have to be out. Where if you have not yet purchased an American flag to go to a protest with, go buy one. or
Well,
two.
I agree with what he just said, which is vote with
Yeah,
your
vote with
wallet
your
and
feet and
feet.
wallet. Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
vote
Thank
with
you
your
for
feet and wallet.
clarifying, Tyler. That's an important one is feet
Oh
and
no,
wallet.
Tyler's in complete agreement. I see him three
Oh,
times a week.
absolutely. Yeah.
He's in complete agreement. But vote with your wallet and feet. Vote with your daily fucking actions, because what they've
Yes.
done is effectively remove any decision that we should be able to vote on as American people that directly affects us, and put it in their hands to be able to do without our say, without our input, without our democratic voice. So the next best thing you can do is be fucking loud, both online and in person. Not shy away from the conversations. Doesn't mean you have to go seek every fucking maggot out that is out there, because that's a goddamn headache. But then actually go vote with your wallet. We saw what happened with the Jimmy Kimmel situation. While I would like to see that applied to other situations, such as Israel and Palestine, and the firing of the reporters from the Washington Post, we need that similar level of outrage. We did see that it is in fact effective. Once we start voting with our wallets and going, I can give up Disney Plus for a week or a month or forever, then they take notice. They take stock. So vote with your wallet, vote with your feet, get out there and actually make yourself known. There's a lot of people who believe in what we believe, but will make endless reasons that they cannot go out and protest. And some of them are valid. Some of them are people who would be targeted if they were seeing it out in public. I get that. But there's also a lot of people that have the ability to get out there and do it and aren't. And these are scary times, but the only way they change is when we stand up and are seen visibly doing something, and them hearing our voices say that we do not agree with this. So, anyway, that was my rant. Sorry.
Do you think that people that have active duty in their family should be having conversations, should like be initiating conversations after this speech?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely. I absolutely. And here's something we talked about this with Walter a little bit this morning because he put a note out. Um, was stop asking enlisted soldiers to be the ones who have to defy illegal orders. Start demanding that officers do not give illegal orders. And that's right. Officers, you have your sworn duty ahead of enlisted soldiers before the enlisted ever get those orders. Unless you're a senior non-commissioned officer who is working hand in hand with an officer and you are crafting those orders, officers, it is your duty to prevent illegal orders from being disseminated to your troops. You should never allow your troops to be put into a position where they have to defy your order because you made an illegal one. You know better. You have trained your lives. If you've been in there for years, you've trained your whole life to be an officer and serve and swear to protect and uphold the Constitution. You better do it. And if
So
you
there
don't,
was
history will not be kind to you. We will not be kind to you when accountability comes, because accountability is coming. And we will remember every name. We will remember every action because we are watching, we are recording, we are speaking, and you will not silence me. You will not silence us. I will guarantee that no one will silence me. And if you do, or you try to, good fucking luck. I'm not stopping. Pete Hegseth, you're a disgrace. And soldiers should absolutely, family members, service members, if you have someone actively in the service right now, you should be talking to them about their rights, how they can contact the GI hotline, who they can talk to. You should also be working to set up financial support because they will
yes.
be reprimanded for violating an order. They will get court-martialed. That means they will lose their pay and their livelihoods. We as citizens need to prepare to support our troops who make the choice that we are asking them to make. We are asking people to stand up for the Constitution, no matter how dangerous it can be to them and their future and their present or their family. We have to then be willing to give them the support on the backside that says, we have your back. We don't forget you. We're not doing this COVID bullshit where we said, you're the front lines. We love you. We value you. And then we don't take care of you. No, we have to stay together in this. And you
Agreed.
have to be prepared to help your cousins, your sisters, your brothers, your family members, whoever they may be, your friends. have to be willing to help them and tell them that you are willing to help them.
So there's some things that I think that we should clarify for people that are watching that were not in the military, because a lot of stuff he mentioned in the speech is really specific, and you wouldn't know what he was talking about if you weren't in. One of the
Yeah.
things he referenced is that the trainings, the PowerPoints, as he called them, the PowerPoint trainings that we are all made to do.
Death
So
by
for
PowerPoint.
for civilians that are unaware, over the years, the military has developed a series of trainings because a lot of young men come in to the military who are from backgrounds that are pretty racist and homophobic and
Hmm.
sexist. And they literally have to be trained on how to be a decent person, how to behave in mixed company, how to be in a platoon or a division or a unit with people who come from different backgrounds as you, and how to behave appropriately. And some of those PowerPoints are simply, don't grab women's butts. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the reality of it. And the reality is those trainings exist because there was a need for those trainings, because our active duty enlisted, usually men, were behaving inappropriately. So
So,
to get rid of all the trainings is going to take our military. Well, I mean, he continually said he wants the military of 1990. I don't
Yep.
know
And
what in his mind has
the,
made him think that that's like the ideal.
yeah,
well, and
what's that all about? Is it because it's
well, and,
pre-Desert Storm?
well.
Or
I was going to say, and the ones that Melissa's referencing specifically, I don't know if it was called the same thing in the Navy, but in the Army, it was SHARP. It was sexual harassment, assault, rape, and rape prevention, and it was basically the most of the people who were halfway decent human beings did not need to hear it. Those who did needed to hear it, and even those of us who thought we didn't need to hear it, it was a good way to remind us that that's out there, and that maybe we need to think twice about the way that our actions come across. But some of those people were, and I'm not trying to make fun of any demographic of the country, but were podunk kids coming out of high school who had not even thought about these things and needed those lessons, and without them they would not have they may have actually been a perpetrator of this. God knows I needed the resiliency trainings that we did while we were in, because that is the only thing that has carried me through the Army, post-Army, and as recently as fucking Sunday. So
yeah,
Right. So
and
even at that, the training is not always sexual harassment or racial profiling. It's also trainings to help you mentally, emotionally carry on after you leave the service of being a combatant.
yeah, it trains
yeah.
you how to be a good civilian too. Like that's part of military training is it teaches you how to be both a good service member and an upstanding civilian, because there is actually a regulation that officers have to maintain upstanding citizenship status to retain their rank as officers. That means they have to be exemplary citizens. They have to live the role that they have decided to take, that they were commissioned to have. You have to be an upstanding citizen and you have to know how to be a citizen to do that. So these trainings are important because most of these kids don't go to college when you join the military. They need life skills. They need to learn how to do these things. And
Someone Someone just mentioned the tailhook scandal happened in the late 80s, early 90s. For those that don't know, the tailhook scandal was a military scandal in which U.S. Navy and Marine Corps aviation officers were alleged to have assaulted up to 83 women and 7 men at the Las Vegas Hilton in Las Vegas, Nevada. And aside from that, I just looked up how many servicemen died of friendly fire during the Gulf War in 1990, 145. So this is the height of training that Petey wants to go back to. That's the height of it, where you have friendly fire incidents. What kind of training is that?
mm,
And
Well,
you have our military servicemen out here assaulting women in the community.
and
well,
now
and
we're lowering bullying and hazing require standards and lessening
well,
and making it so that abusers can start abusing again.
Right.
Well, and I don't mean to decide rail what you're talking about, but to tie into your point, Melissa, one of the other detriments of trying to go back to the era of the 90s where we didn't have all of this training is that another interesting thing that came out of the sharp training for sexual harassment and assault, which is that they noticed that there was not only more reporting, but more reporting by male victims. They and people try to claim, oh, okay, it's because everybody feels that they can come out and say me too. Well, first off, fuck you for demonizing me too. Second off, it's not necessarily, although, statistically could be, it's not necessarily because there are more. It's because there were a bunch that weren't being reported because there wasn't an accurate reporting system or a safe reporting system. And that included the men. The men felt like they were going to be demonized, demoted, ridiculed in their units for admitting that they had been sexually assaulted by another man. And if we go back to the era of the 90s, it's not to make it about men, but it is to make it about the victims and to make it about the fact that is the era that he is hearkening back to. Because even when you were talking about with Telhook, 7 of those victims were men, 83 were women. That's horrible. That's horrible on all counts. It's horrible the amount of women. It's horrible the amount of men. It's horrible the amount of total fucking victims. But that is what we're talking about when Hegseth talks about going back to the 90s, in the same way that when Trump talks about going back to Make America Great Again, he finally let it slip a couple months ago which era he was talking about when America was great. And that was back during Industrial Revolution and immediately post-industrial revolution, with a lack of child labor laws and people being able to lose limbs on the workplace with unfair wages, the highest disparity between the uber elite rich and the uber poor. So we now have Trump likening back to an era that was inarguably horrible. And Pegseth, I said Pegseth, but I don't take it back. So,
I'm going to steal that one.
Pegseth.
I like
And
it.
Pegseth trying to take us back to an era where there is no accountability, not just for sexual harassment and assault, but for accountability for any leadership in general, because a good chunk of that training that we went through also trained us how to argue with leadership that was doing something that we disagreed with and how to properly report it.
Which is why he gutted the JAG service as one of the first things he did. He
Right.
gutted the entire JAG service at the Pentagon and all of that leadership for a reason, because now it's harder to report issues such as sexual assault, harassment for the sharp cases. It's also going to be really hard to report bullying and hazing when that's just going to be masked as corrective training. And you're going to see a lot of drill sergeants again coming out abusing their trainees because they have emotional dysregulation problems.
Right.
Because
At the end of that
they
speech,
won't.
he literally gave a directive to drill sergeants specifically to go hard, go back to the way we used to do things. Don't
That's what
be
he wants
soft
from the
on little
90s.
kids.
Because in the 90s, you could haze the shit out of people. You could fucking hurt them. You could
Yeah, I
hurt
mean, I
people.
came in 2003, and our drill commander threw furniture at us. So
Yeah, that's what he
and
wants.
I went to Great Lakes for training in the winter. There was 3 foot of snow on the ground, and the whole unit got walking pneumonia because our drill commander forced us to PT in the snow in PT gear in -10-degree temperatures, and that was considered fine.
Yep. Yep.
Part of
And
what you had to do to get
we're
in.
going back to it. We're going back to it that is what he just told his generals is allowed. That's what he just told his NCOs. The NCOs in the army and armed services in general are now going, well, I guess I can go harder. And to some
Tyler,
who are abusers, that's going to mean really hard.
so to answer Tyler's question, yes and no. Because he asks, clarity for a civilian. Is a direction and a speech of the SecDef considered a valid order for those drill sergeants? Yes and no. It's an overall general directive, but it's not an official order, which means that it is coming from the SecDef. But other than it not being an official order, because it's not been written down, it's not been documented as such.
Well,
That we
we
know
don't
of.
know what's in those 10 directives yet that have
Yeah,
been
Yeah, we don't know.
emailed out today.
We don't know what's in those 10 directives yet, but also until it comes from your direct supervisor, commander, sergeant, officer, it is not a violation of orders. So, I'll put that out there. These 10 orders will be put out in paperwork soon. But Right now, it's a general directive that's been put out orally, but has not been put to paper. Even once it's put to paper, you have to be given that order by your direct commander or your direct supervisor, sergeant, for that to be a violation of orders. And y'all can
Yeah.
disagree with me if I'm wrong about that.
No, I think
No,
that's
that's
really true. Also, too, is soldiers will not act without an order on average. Most service members, let's broader than just soldiers. Most service members will not act without an order. In fact, they all are trained not to. What Jake said is in fact like 100% true. Is
right.
it's not an order yet. But the email's gone out and it's going to
But
become
that
an
what that
order.
will do is to give every single person in that chain of command the ability to say, stop, that's not a lawful order. I'd like to question with my attorney if that's a lawful order. And if you don't think that every single one of those generals is and admirals and flag officers is not on a phone with a lawyer on the way home from this meeting, every single one of them is, because at the
Yeah,
end of the
but
day, when the trials come, they are going to have to take ownership for what orders they pass down to those below them. The
Yeah.
buck
right.
stops there. So they are
Because
going to make damn sure that they are within constitutional bounds before following any of this
Because
shit.
if we jumped every single time the SecDef or the president got on video, got on the news and said we're
Right.
doing this, and that was considered a direct order, the military would be in a complete state of disarray. But also, like you said, there's like 25 steps of leadership minimum
Yeah.
between the SecDef and the average troop to be able to do that. And like you said, they are all going to be fighting this because while a lot of civilians or retired, not rarely retired, but a lot of civilians, anybody who's not familiar with intimately with having been in the military, while there might be the perception that we all agree, we clearly don't all agree with
Yeah.
what's being done right now. We all
Yeah.
agree, but even veterans that you're watching right now on camera don't agree with what's going on. So for every three of us, there's another 30 in the military right now that don't want to do this, and that extends up to higher leadership. How we had generals fucking retiring and stepping down in light of Trump having been elected into office because they disagreed. So there will be generals, there will be commanders, there will be lieutenants, there will
Well,
be
just
captains, there will be majors
absolutely.
going, I'm not going to do this, and I'm going to consult the rule book, and I'm going to consult a lawyer before I am even asked to try to put this in place. And then for that step, the one below it's going to do that, and the one below it's going to do that, and the one
And you
below it's
know
going to
what
do
gave
that.
me hope today in that room was the fucking silence.
Yeah.
You could hear a pin drop. Now, Pete just kept going with his little rehearsed monologue, but Trump kept trying to do the thing that he does on the campaign trail, which is a little baiting hook and then a pause, because he's used to that pause being filled with cheers and
Hmm.
silence. Every time
Yeah.
he looked fucking stupid. Every single time he would try with some baiting comment, trying. So then he had them raise their hands. Hold on, let me find what did
I
raise your
remember that.
hand if you agree with Kane. And of course nobody raised their hand. They weren't going to participate in his little game. So he said, "Well, you didn't raise your hand. So see, you all agree with me."
Hmm.
Yep. And I watched the
Okay.
very end of that. I watched the very, I mean, the whole thing, but I watched the very end of that video where he's like sitting there going, "Oh, we're going to go to war." And like he pauses for applause. And the only sound in the fucking building was the color guard having to do their job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like that gives me a lot of hope, though, is that the generals were never put at ease after Trump began speaking. He had them at attention the entire fucking time. So of course they're not going to raise their hands. Of course they're not going to speak. Of course they're not going to cheer because generals know how to stand at fucking attention. They don't like doing it, but they know how to do it
Right.
because they walk around their troops and they fucking yell at them all the time, going, "Hey, you stand at attention, right? Hey, when your superior is talking to you, unless they have put you at ease, you stand at attention." President never did that. He
Well,
treated them like children. So did
yeah.
Pete. Pete treated them like children, but he sounded like a child.
Well, and somebody commented, well, then all the good ones will leave. Here's the thing about that. First off, most of these generals, most of these majors, these lieutenant colonels, these captains, I have enough intestinal fortitude that they will try to stick it out as long as possible. They did not serve for 10, 15, 20 years to be able to just leave the first time that it gets rough. They're going to try to stick it out. But those who do leave, count yourself lucky that if they leave, you now have a blue-blooded, American heart bleeding, like human retired general out in the civilian population that is no longer bound by the additional layer of military law. They're only bound by civilian law. And if they don't believe that something is constitutionally right, morals will supersede legality, because morality is not equal legality or vice versa. So no, not all of them are going to leave, but if they do, count yourself lucky that on our side, we now have a general with a lot less rules to tie their hands.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm going to stop saying I don't mean to incite insurrection.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
apparently insurrectionists now. Like,
We are apparently
Right.
insurrectionists by the words of the president, but it is time to stop saying I don't mean to incite this. I don't mean to hint at this. No. There's going to be a time to be able to go, no, throw caution to the wind. We need to take this back. We need to take the power back.
Right. Well,
yeah.
when the president of the United States and the commander in chief in front of a room full of generals uses the term radical liberal, radical left lunatics at least 4 times that I noted, and I was scribbling as fast as I could to keep up with his nonsense. And to also say the nation is all red, but small strips of blue along the coast, and those will be gone soon.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the
Yeah.
commander in chief standing in front of the head of the army of the military, outright insulting half of the nation and absolutely dog whistling to violence and suppression and calling us things like insurrectionists.
I would say he's not insulting us. He is using derogatory language towards us, and we should use our civil actions to counter it if we can.
Right.
Because I'm not a terrorist. I'm not an insurrectionist. You could never prove that I was in a court in no way, shape, or form. Yeah, it's not dog whistling, it's bullhorning now. Like they're using the
Right.
bully pulpit to bullhorn the fuck out of racism and bigotry.
Absolutely.
But you are damn well sure that I found Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth's words today defamatory.
Oh,
He
Yes.
100%.
defamed my service. He
Yeah.
defamed my father's service, my grandfather's services, my brothers, my sister-in-laws, my cousins, my whole fucking family. He defamed my service. He defamed my friend's service. He called us insurrectionists and terrorists. I went to Afghanistan. I lost friends because of the traitor Bo Bergdahl. I lost
God.
friends. I know
God.
people who died because of Bo fucking Bergdahl, who defected and went and told the Taliban where we were and what we were fucking doing. But you know what we did? We got his ass back. And he's a traitor. Donald Trump pardoned that fucking piece of shit. My friends died. I'm not an insurrectionist and I'm not a terrorist. I'm a fucking freedom fighter. I fought for our freedoms. I deserve, just like Melissa deserves, just like Jacob deserves, to be treated with fucking respect. And I'm going to demand that because I'm tired of being defamed by these fucking people. And you know what? I'm going to start this conversation as loudly as we can with as many people as we can that we need to file a class action lawsuit against them because I'm tired of being defamed all the time. This is going to cost people jobs. This is going to cost people livelihoods. This is going to send people to prison. This is going to get people killed. They are defaming us and turning us into monsters. They are the monster.
There's also
Stop fucking playing nice.
there's
We need
also
to sue the fuck out of them for
what
everything.
is going to happen to active duty military members after this little debacle today, who everyone in their platoon knows that they're the liberal, and
Yeah, or
you've
that they're
just
gay.
greenlit violence in the ranks.
Yeah.
There's nobody to report it to anymore. We're not going to take reports about this stuff. I highly encourage you all to use violence. We're going to go back to the 1990 way. So, yeah, if you have somebody you know that's liberal, that's in your unit or your division or your platoon, just go handle them.
Yeah. Yeah. And go handle them does not end well,
No.
especially if it's in a combat situation, because the solution to disobedience to orders in a combat solution can be death.
Yes.
You can be executed on the spot for disobeying orders in a combat situation if it puts your unit and your unit's lives at risk. This is where it becomes really fucking dangerous. And this is why
Right.
we have said, officers, it is your responsibility to prevent illegal orders from ever reaching your service members, because your sole duty outside of preserving and protecting the Constitution is keeping your soldiers alive, is the lives
Yes.
of your service members. And if you don't value those, you get the fuck out. Like, that's the loyalty test, is if you don't value the lives of your service members and you're so willing to throw them away because they're gay or they're a woman or they're trans, or maybe they're a little overweight because they actually have a medical problem that was caused by going to war and they can no longer do physical fitness in the same way, but they're still a valid piece of our military and they still serve with honor and dignity. Tired of being defamed. I'm so mad.
Yes. This
And
speech,
officers,
and
you hold the fucking line.
this was so that was the most frustrating thing, listening to that speech. Like I said, the first we all expected Trump to be unhinged. He's unhinged. But Pete, coming off of television experience, he was poised, he was clean, he was, to people watching even on the YouTube video that I watched of the speech, the comments were pretty, well, that wasn't so bad. And even a lot of comments like, yeah, I support all of this. This is what we should go back to. But make no mistake, if you are active duty and you just watched the SecDev say that you are not as good as everyone else if you are a woman, or you are gay or trans, or you are Black and have the condition where you can't shave your face, but in every other way you're a war machine. And then further in that speech, to go ahead and glorify violence amongst the troops, to say, hey, drill sergeants, we need to get back to being violent. Hey, we need to claw back all of the training about not being violent in our troops. Hey, we're no longer going to take reports when you decide to report violent. That's a very clear message that went out today from Pete. A very clear message.
Yeah. There was very little subtlety
Right.
in today's messaging. And I think
Yeah.
that's what people need to really need to stop downplaying. Like,
Yes.
I don't want people to downplay this threat. I'm tired of hearing other Democrats and progressives and Americans go, oh, he's just deflecting or it's a distraction. No, it's fucking not. Like, not everything can be a distraction. If everything's a distraction, why are all these people missing? Why is ICE fucking killing people? That's not a distraction from the Epstein files. They're doing more than one thing at a time. Like, let's stop being
Yes.
so fucking single-minded and be like, oh, it's a distraction just from the Epstein. No, they'll never release the Epstein files if they turn America into a war zone, because they won't
Yes.
have to. Like, they're going to try.
Right.
He said it. And yes, the president's words on stage are not official orders until they have been written down and disseminated
They're disseminated through the
through the
proper
ranks,
channels, all the way
through the
down to the
proper
ranks.
channels.
Correct.
Do
People
they
in the
care about
comments are
legality? No.
saying, people in the comments are talking about sort of what they expected to see with this. I think we're not going to know the full impact of what happens today and the ensuing days for quite a while, because I think this is a three-pronged um, thing that happened today. The first was Pete dog whistling to the military. Hey, you can go be as violent as you want. Don't worry about it. I got you. Trump was dog whistling to all his followers and all those MAGA people out there that just wanted, to hear his nonsense about how great America is and we're going to make the military the greatest ever and we're going to blow up more Venezuelan ships. And when he said that he heard from the people of Venezuela that they were concerned because the fishermen were out there, afraid to just go fishing, he said, well, I guess there'll be no more fishing then. So he doesn't give a
Yeah.
fuck. So
No, he
that
doesn't
was
care.
the first two. And whatever happens after that live stream ended is going to be the third leg of this that the rest of us are not going to hear about for quite some time, because I believe there will be some version of a loyalty test. Pete said it in his speech. If you don't agree with everything I've said today, that's okay. You can resign today. So Pete laid it out straight up front. Trump telling that reporter that I'm going to meet with all of these generals and admirals myself, which 2 days ago in an interview, Donald Trump didn't know what the fuck was happening today. He thought foreign generals were coming to meet the SecDev today. He had no idea what was happening, and JD Vance had to bend down over his shoulder and like clarify. So in 2 days, he's decided that, oh, yeah, I do know what's going on. And I'm going to meet with every one of these 800 plus people. And if I don't like them on site, I'm going to fire them. So we don't know what's going to happen in the third wing. We haven't seen the 10 directives. That I'm dying to see what these 10 directives say. Pete mentioned them multiple times, said they're going out to y'all's email as we speak. So I can't wait to get a copy of those 10 directives and see what that entails, because that on paper is going to be a lot more formal process to actually restructuring things in the military than just a speech.
Yeah. And and I think it's also too, like, this is just fuck, I forgot what I was about to say. Never mind. I lost it there.
Back to Melissa on a monologue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it was you had said you were saying some really important things in there, and I think one of the
Never
most
apologize, Melissa. I love listening
oh,
to
I
you
love Melissa
monologue. It
monologues.
is art. I learned things, and I mean, it's not that I'm ignorant in the first place, but listening to you and reading you, I still learn things, and it is art. I aspire to monologue the way that you monologue. So.
I'm about to start a section on Banner and Backbone that is just for Melissa. That's called Melissa's Monologues, where
I
she
was
just
just about
gets
to
to
say.
rant and upload videos all day
Yes.
long that she
Fred
wants.
has
You're welcome,
message from a
Melissa.
middle-aged man. Fred has messages from a middle-aged man. Melissa's just needs to be Melissa's monologues.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and the thing with all of this is like you said, we won't know until we start hearing the next steps. We do know that it was a blatant loyalty request and it was a blatant incitement of violence. Like Donald Trump actively called for violence against people on the left who are not with him. And what he means by the left is anyone who is not with him. You are a radical leftist if your name is Joe Walsh, too. Like,
Yeah.
I met with Joe Walsh. Joe ain't a radical leftist. He's a really nice guy. We don't agree on every issue. We have some very big differences around pro-life and abortion and what my definition of pro-life is compared to what his definition is. But we can have a conversation because he's still for the Constitution and he doesn't want to enslave everybody. And he still thinks women are people who should have rights. Like, that's where Joe and I, boom, we met in the middle. That's a center point. People deserve rights. Donald Trump, his center point is if you're not me, you're dead. I don't like you. You're a radical terrorist. If you're not my little circle around me, and he wants his generals. He said it in the election. He wants his generals like Hitler had his generals. He wanted and was waiting for a means test. He didn't know this was happening, but he took it over.
Yeah.
He took over Pete's little charade. What I think would have happened if it was just Pete, was it would have been much more JD Vance-ish and Stephen Miller-ish of a speech, because Donald Trump ain't going to be around forever. A dying dictator and a dying king is only so good for so long. And it's not hard to imagine some of the next steps that the right would take to martyr, to create a martyr for their movement, to find a way to incite and invoke the Insurrection Act. And their next king was murdered not too long ago. They said it. Candace Owens said it. You cannot replace the king. She wasn't talking about Donald Trump. She was talking about JD. She was talking about Charlie Kirk, who was supposed to be the next heir to MAGA, not JD Vance. Never been JD Vance. JD's a tool for the techno-fascists. It was supposed to be Kirk. He's gone. And the martyrdom of Kirk did not work because we all still push back. They're relying on us in this next step when the troops do get deployed to cities to become silent. They're relying on Americans to back down. So what do we do? You go out and you protest with your feet and your wallets. You do it peacefully. You do it patriotically. You wave American flags and only American flags. I understand if you want to wave pride flags. I understand if you want to wave your flags from your heritage and your history and your family's legacy. Now is not the time for that. Now is the time to show your patriotism, and patriotism above all else, because that's what they have stolen from us. They have not stolen your pride and your heritage. They have not stolen your ethnicity. They have not stolen your sexual identity or your gender identity or your personhood. They have not stolen those. They have stolen our patriotism. And we need to go and fight to take that back right now, not anything else. Because without patriotism and without the country, we can't have the rest of those things. Those systems those freedoms rely on patriotic Americans standing up to use their feet and their wallets. So protest, call your representatives and your senators, state and federal. Sign up for runforsomething.net, even if you're not going to run for something, so that you can learn how to help a candidate or how to get involved. Every Friday, Banner and Backbone does the Anti-Fascist Book Club at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us. This Friday, we've got historian Dr. Stephanie G. Wilson coming on to discuss the final section of What is Fascism, which is grievance. If you didn't think that would be relevant by Friday, it's going to be super relevant by Friday. Grievance is literally what runs this entire government right now. But join us. If you want to know things to do, those are simple things. Those are entries into civics, especially coming on Friday to the Banner and Backbone Anti-Fascist Book Club. That book club is meant to help teach everybody the skills to then start their own and do it in person and become part of their community and engage with their community more. And Deb, we will put out we'll make sure information is announced for the Anti-Fascist Book Club. I will make sure Banner and Backbone itself posts some information just reminding people. We'll have our links and stuff in there too, as always. But
And also, as a direct action today, because I always like to leave people with a direct action, you do not have to be a veteran to call your congressman, senator, representative today and let them know what you thought of those speeches. Let them know that as a civilian in this nation, you are extremely alarmed at what you heard from the SecDev and the President of the United States today, and you'd like to know their stance on those speeches and how they are going to protect both our military members and our civilians in these radical Democratic cities. So call your congressman today, have a conversation about what we all saw this morning.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Jacob, any last thoughts before we go? We're right at the top of the hour.
Yeah,
We're
we are
right at the
the
half
top of the
hour.
hour. I mean, y'all took most of my points on that. One of the things I will say, and I will be doing my absolute best to tune in for the book club on Friday. Is the best things that you can do is to be educated about the process from top to bottom. And I know that we can't know everything. One of the biggest things that I preach about is picking 2 to 3 things that you care about and focusing on those. But knowing, as we've talked about before, we're not raising people to go run for office. What we are trying to do is to help educate people on civics, about what it means to be a civilian involved in the process. But just as I'm trying to do with the Better Human Project, my emphasis on politics is health news and politics with a sub emphasis in human rights. It's not that I don't care about the rest. I absolutely do. I'm on here with Nick and Fred and Lawrence and Dana and hopefully now Melissa sometime in the future. Is obviously stay informed and stay involved in the conversation. But if it's overwhelming, and I get it, because there's a fucking fuck ton, I'm not even going to say pardon my language. There's a fucking fuck ton of shit going on right now. Pick 1 or 2 things that matter to you. Human rights is an easy one. Health, pick how it involves farming and agriculture, but go be not only knowledgeable, but active in those things and read up on them. The best thing you could do is be educated, whether it's through Nick's book club or going and picking up a book of your own and then opening the news, set a Google alert, go, hey, health news, and read that daily digest every day so that you know what's going on with this so that you can be involved. And the biggest ally of Trump and Pegseth, which is what I'm calling him from now on, the
I love
biggest
it.
allies of Trump and Pegseth from now on is you going, politics is too complicated. Politics is too dramatic. I don't have time for politics. That's how they fucking win, because it goes back to the quote that the only thing that is required for evil to triumph is for good men and women to stand aside and do nothing. So you no longer have the convenience of
Don't do
sitting here and
nothing.
going in and saying politics is too complicated or messy. I'm not a part of it. I'm giving you homework. Go focus on one thing, one area.
Yeah, and to answer the question, I know Melissa already answered it for Sass in the comments, but to say it out loud is we are working with Chris Goldsmith, who is the founder of Task Force Butler, is the director at, and I believe founder at Veterans Fighting Fascism as well. He and I are in communication fairly regularly at this point, and we're discussing the Anti-Fascist Book Club. He was with us 2 weeks ago, and he's actually going to be coming back next week. And he should be joining us for pretty much every show that he can. He really likes has seemed to like what we're doing. And we really love working with Chris. He's an incredible guy. So if you haven't supported Chris Goldsmith yet, I would absolutely do so. His name starts with a K, not a C. So that it's easier to find, it starts with a K, not a C. And so my final pitch today for everyone is come support all 3 of us on our personal channels. Sick of this shit with Nick is mine. Melissa is Counter Story Media. Jake has 3.
Better Human Project's the main
Better
one.
Human Project is his main.
Y'all are about to be very fucking annoyed by me because I am shutting down my gym within the next month and I will have a lot more fucking time.
And also please come over to Banner and Backbone and support us there. Come support Banner and Backbone. Free subs, especially right now, are the most helpful for all of us. Free sub to everyone that you like and enjoy. Support our work by subscribing to us for free. If you can afford to become paid members for all of us or any of us, do so, please, because we all need it. I do this full time. Melissa basically does this full time. Jake is doing this full time. Banner and Backbone is a growing, veteran owned, veteran founded, civilian founded mixture of what America could and should be, and is focusing on reigniting civics and restoring integrity, service, and ethics in America. So come join us. This is your free entry point to join. And like we said, join for free. Subscribe. Subscribing is free. Sharing is free, liking is free. Hit the heart button. If every single one of you hits the heart button while we're in here, 154 of us, we'll start with 154 likes for Banner and Backbone on this presentation. That's how it works. Is each individual person who hits that heart, you get added to our heart count. So come help us spread the word. Join Banner and Backbone. Fight back. Talk to your friends. Talk to your relatives who are in the service or who are related, and tell them how you feel and call your reps. Thanks, everyone. Melissa, Jake, thank you so much for joining today. It's going to be a long one. You'll probably hear from more of us again as things start coming out. So look out for updates from our team. But we appreciate every single one of you who's come in today. Thank you both, and have a great afternoon, everyone, or try to. Stay civically engaged and go do something. All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day.
Thank you.